Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carrie. Thanks for stopping by today. If you're new, I'm Carrie. I'm a matchmaker, a dating coach. What I am not is a doctor or a therapist. But today I did want to have a follow-up episode on an episode I made last month. And it was about the 4 predictors of a divorce. I'll link to it here and at the end of the episode. I wanted to go into a little bit more detail on one of the most harmful things to a relationship, which was contempt in a relationship. I wanted to follow up on it a little bit because it came up with somebody I was talking to about their previous relationship. They were recently divorced, and when they described getting out of that relationship, I thought, wow, they stayed a really long time for a relationship that was so contemptuous. I don't know how he managed in that situation to stick around that long, and I really want to be helpful in helping him to find somebody who's kind and get him into a healthy relationship. And you'll understand more of that, I'm sure, as we talk a little bit more about what that contempt in a relationship looks like and ways that you can recognize this, perhaps things to be aware of, perhaps ways to fix this, and to know what you should do next. If you think contempt might be something that is going on in your relationship, I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. Contempt in a relationship looks like toxic criticism. And it's somebody putting you down all the time, and it's very disrespectful. What happens in those types of relationships is that the person on the receiving end does not ever feel safe or comfortable in that relationship. They're always feeling less than and walking on eggshells. And I think if you're in this kind of a relationship, often people can't understand why anybody would do that to you. They've chosen you as their partner. They're sticking around, yet they want to treat you so poorly. And from what I've read, what I looked up in trying to help this client, I came to understand it's a power move. It's a control issue that somebody has. And most often they're doing this because they have their own insecurities. It's easier to put someone else down than to have to work to build yourself up and become a better version or get over whatever it is that's making you unhappy or feel insecure. Rather than put in time to become a better partner, just make your partner miserable, feel badly about themselves, then you can both be miserable together. It's a horrible logic and it's a horrible thing to do to somebody. And as I mentioned earlier, based on the episode this came from, which was the 4 predictors of divorce, it's literally death to a marriage or a relationship. Living on the defensive is no way to live in a relationship, in your primary relationship. So let's talk about some fixes. 10 of them. If you are a person who is in this relationship and you are the person who is being disrespectful to your partner, who is being contemptuous and making this person walk on eggshells, there is a chance you can fix it. If you love this person, you want to make this relationship or this marriage work, I have some helpful tips, 10 of them actually, to help you take the steps to see if this relationship can be saved. I felt bad leaving the episode with such a negative ending that there's no way to fix it. And there's not for the person who is the brunt of this negativity and this disrespect and feeling like nothing they can do is right. But there is help if the other person wants to change. So let's talk a little bit about that. I hope you'll stick around if that's something that could be helpful to you. If not, go check out this episode. That's what's on the agenda. How do you know if this describes you? Get it to be honest with yourself. Take a look. Are you mean? Are you usually feeling angry when you're around your partner and feel annoyed that they're not in a bad mood? Sometimes they describe people who have contempt for their partner as being haughty or uppity or sarcastic all the time, just belittling somebody. I think recognizing it is the first step. So if any of those things ring true to you, recognize that could be the issue and stick around because see if some of the rest of these might apply to you. One of the best tools that I've seen offered for people in this situation is to replace the ridicule with real, honest communication. It's hard, obviously, to get out of habits, but if this relationship is worth it to you, it might be worth the effort. Try to listen sincerely and let this be an actual communication rather than often a lecture or just an opportunity to put somebody down or put them in their place. That's a good place to start. Always, in all relationships, with all issues, communication is key, as I say. So that's the first place you're going to want to look to make any kind of a change. Next up is just this requires an attitude change, a real shift in perspective. You can't be the person who sees the glass empty all the time and be treating somebody else kindly like they deserve. And this could have shifted already where the other person isn't taking it and you're getting it back. And then you're going to have that communication about how you can both make changes. Often the best way to do that, if you can't do it on your own, therapy is the effort that needs to be made to keep this relationship together. Always important to try to do that, especially if you have children together. If you don't, I don't really care if people part ways if they're both unhappy in a situation. Certainly, the end of a relationship isn't the end of the world for a lot of people. But if there are children involved and it can be worked out, I always think it's worth trying. Kids like their parents together. And if they can be healthy and be a good example, give it a try. Number 4 is a tool that is meant to help you remember what you were attracted to, what you liked about this person prior to all these problems when you first met them. It requires a walk down memory lane. You can either do it in your head and think back. You could look at a photo album or a scrapbook or videos of when you first met this person. But if you can reconnect with who you were and who they were before all this went to heck in a handbasket, then sometimes that can really help people to reconnect in that way. Remember, I told you at the top of the episode, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a marriage therapist, but these are common sense approaches that are easily accessible online. I've just assembled them all here, hoping to be helpful to somebody who might see this, maybe get the idea that they want to make a change, maybe seek out therapy, and try these things first to see if it's something here really connects with you and makes an impact. The next tip I found was to create positive experiences together. Like starting in this moment, let's find some positive things we can start fresh with. The opposite of like going backwards or having to relive moments of negativity, but to find something in this moment of starting fresh that you can start to build new memories that have a positive impact and a positive feeling around them. This is having the positive impact of working on something together. And it doesn't have to be something huge. It could be that you both you'll start going hiking and sitting for 15 minutes by water at the place you hike and having a little check-in on how things are going or how their week was or what was the best thing that happened to them this week. Creating like new routines and having a positive vibe all around that to create new memories moving forward. Next up really made sense to me, and that was learning how to, by practicing, how to voice your opinion without making it about another person or attaching it to their value or bringing them into it at all. Just being able to voice your opinion about you, which is enough. That's enough to communicate what you need to, say what you want to, without dredging up the other person and anything about them at all. It's a new way to communicate, knowing that you can be you, talk about you, and not have to involve anybody else, their perceptions, their thoughts on this. You're perfectly allowed. Next up would be to tap into your empathy and be able to step back for a moment and ask yourself in situations where you feel you might be crossing boundaries, how would this make me feel? Right? To be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes or literally just flip the script and say, if this person were saying this to me, how would I feel about myself? Or would this put me in a bad mood? Would this make me feel good about myself or bad about myself? And then asking, is there another way I can say this without having to make this other person feel like crap about themselves? Back to the last one, being able to communicate without it being about the other person at all. And then I'll insert it here before I get to the end because I really do believe that therapy is a great option. How fantastic to be able to understand why you do this, why you communicate in this way, why there is a power struggle at all, or you have a need to feel smarter or better or stronger or whatever it is, why you feel that the other person needs to be less in order for you to feel like more. Therapy's fabulous for situations like this. This is the kind of stuff they really can fix by you opening up and sharing and figuring out together where this comes from. And awareness is like, such a huge part of this. And they can help you work through that. Number 9 is that the other half of this partnership and the other half of communication is the other person communicating. So you have to become a listener. You have to try to be a good listener and to let this person be truthful and authentic without jumping in and making them feel like they need to walk on eggshells when expressing themselves, or they're going to get it in the form of ridicule or eye rolling or sarcasm, which is what this looks like. It's just so demeaning to have somebody rolling their eyes at you or making you feel stupid all the time. And it's super easy to stop with the right tools and the right reminders set in place. So I'm going back to that one. I'm encouraging therapy yet again and being a good listener. And then finally, number 10 is just setting realistic expectations for yourself and other people. If you're expecting somebody to do just as you would or be just as you are, that's too high of an expectation. Nobody else is you. So accepting that things are going to be different than what you would do or think or how you would handle things doesn't require eye rolling, or it doesn't require making fun of this person or putting them down. Understanding that your expectations that they're like you are just not something that can even be. There's only one of you. There's only one of your partner. So that understanding and having lower expectations that you're going to agree or be on the same page about everything, maybe even anything, is a huge step towards improvement. And then again, maybe therapy. I hope you found that interesting or helpful. If you did, please give the episode a thumbs up. And if dating and relationships are your jam, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday. I'll look forward to seeing you back soon. And until next time, have a good one.